Hi, Rami. How are you?
Great, thanks. How are you, Noor?
Good, alhamdulillah. I think we're ready to start. So Rami, tell us a little about yourself. You've just joined our Body Tree team as a therapist. Is that
Yes,
correct?
correct.
So إذا فيك تعرف عن حالك شوي, let us know a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. I'm a mental well-being practitioner that specializes in psychology first aid, which aims at providing safety, stability, and comfort to people have gone through extreme stress or traumas, with a program that's been designed to help you achieve peak performance, whether at work or at home, with your family, etc. So I've done quite a shift from the corporate world, where I still do dabble in at times. I'm a lawyer by training, and I've always had the feeling or a calling to engage with people and help elevate their pain.
Interesting. And is there, so my background is a therapist, a Muslim practitioner, and I use modalities like CBT,
Yeah.
psychotherapy, hypnotherapy. Do you use modalities like that in your work?
Yes. I mean, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, psychotherapy are essential to the entire process of our program. But I'd love to know, Noor, more about what you mean by a Islamic therapist.
So it's been a struggle to be able to finally introduce myself as such.
Mhm.
I've been on a very long, I think subhanAllah, it's been intentional by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but on a journey of learning my deen and then unlearning it and then relearning it
Yeah.
and then finally being able to be unapologetically and authentically myself in my own life, but then especially as a therapist with my clients. Um, and taking, everything I've learned that I appreciate from Western psychology, but also leaning into my faith and how I can use my faith, our Islam, to use it in healing in spaces of therapeutic healing. Um, and be able to be myself in the work as a therapist for my clients and for them to benefit from that as well. Um, so I've jumped into learning what is Islamic psychology, what is psychology, and then what
Mhm.
is psychology when it comes to Islam, and learning from our own forefathers in the space where, when I jumped into my Master's of Science, there was no Muslim name in the space of psychology.
Mhm.
But when you go back to history, you realize due to colonization, our names have been erased. But our
Sure.
forefathers were the first in the space, especially of OCD and psychotherapy, and creating, holistic spaces.
Mhm.
A holistic form of healing is the root of the Islamic tradition, the Islamic religion. And when you go back, you see that holistic spaces of healing were essential. So that's really what I went back to learn and try and incorporate as a therapist in my work with my clients. Um, so similarly, I use modalities that you spoke of, but again, trying to come back to how do I bring it all together for in my work with clients, and especially first and foremost with myself in my own life. Yeah,
I think we've all been through a lot of personal journeys that help us
100%.
help other people as well, you know. So we've all gone through our own journey of discovery, whether it's our faith, whether it's our families, whether it's ourself and being centered with one another. That help us project positivity to others.
I
And
think that's
that being said, we're in Ramadan now, and so there's so many questions about how we deal with healing throughout this month, take care of ourselves and our well-being. And as a practice, fasting is universal across many different cultures and faiths. So I have so many questions for you in terms of
for
how.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
interested because you jumped into talking about how, subhanAllah, we all have our personal journeys on how we come into this work and the work we do on ourselves
Yeah.
to make us good enough therapists. So, what was the jump for you? How did you jump from corporate? And what was your personal journey with being in that corporate bubble? Because I've been there, and then realized, wait, there's something else I need to do. And what sparked your curiosity to do that program in the first place, the mental health first aid program?
Well, first and foremost, I think throughout my professional career, I developed a modality called tactical empathy.
Hmm.
So throughout my work in the corporate world, I would always try to zoom in to the principles, thought process, and feeling towards a deal or a policy change, and try and work my way through understanding that person more. At the same time, the past couple of years have been really rough around the region, and I've seen a lot of people go through a lot of pain uh, just by watching the news. Witnessing displacement of millions of people around the region, economic strife, and it just bears a lot of weight on individuals. And I thought it would be great to be able to actually put the feeling into practice. So the feelings of wanting to help people, the feeling of wanting to understand people more, how do we put it into a modality that works and actually gives people a safe space to come and talk? So the idea is that, yes, you want to feel safe, stable, and secure, but at the same time, you want to perform in life. So my whole idea has been about giving people the idea to heal and go back to the best versions of themselves that they wanted to be.
I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you, Rami.
Mm.
And then I'm in terms of your personal journey, what happened for you personally when you jumped into this work?
It was eye-opening. There was just a flood of emotion, a flood of experiences that I'd never thought I'd be able to experience. Eye-opening to see how many wonderful people are out there that have experienced so much pain, but can easily get through it.
Yeah.
So it's a continuous learning process. But if I think the key learning element for me has been to stay true to the process and believe in it.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah,
apply it ourselves. It's
of course.
being true to it. It truly means going back and being like, wait, what work do I need to do?
Yeah. Continuously reflect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were asking me about Ramadan.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we're in the middle of it now. We're nearly, 9 days in, and it comes with its own, challenges. And as a practice, as I was saying, it's universal. Different people, different cultures, religions practice
Yeah.
the moment fasting.
SubhanAllah is like the common thread between so many.
بالظبط. Yeah, but I mean, from your practice
Yeah.
and your view of well-being, how do you see Ramadan as a tool or a facilitator of well-being?
I think Ramadan is magic. Like it is
Mm.
where so many things in terms of healing come together at one time. Um, Number one is, subhanAllah, so much research has shown us the benefits of fasting.
Mm.
We know people who have had chronic illnesses who have chosen to fast and they come out of it. Their illness is gone. It's crazy. It's crazy what happens when we really go inward and just stopping food and whether it's stopping food, intake of water. So for Muslims, is we stop the food and intake of water from sunrise to sunset. And it's powerful what that does to our body, like on a cellular level,
Mm.
how our organs even just click a reset button, subhanAllah.
Mm.
But then what happens to you because of that effect spiritually?
Mm.
And it's almost like by default, because you're doing this on a physical level, by default, it's like you're spiritually, you become like you're yearning to do it on a spiritual level as well. It's like I just want to reset everything that's around me. And even materialistically. And you see this in other cultures where people jump into the mountains to go fast, right? But why are they doing it in the mountains? Why is it called a retreat? It's because we have this yearning to just want to literally seclude ourselves, be in in this space where we're able to be alone and connect with something bigger than ourselves. And it is just crazy to say that we truly have this yearning as humans. We were made like this to want to connect to something bigger than ourselves. We want to believe there is something out there, whether you believe in God or not, but there is something out there that I can believe is helping me navigate this life. I'm not on my own, subhanAllah. And the Ramadan does that. Being able to fast physically, right, allows you to be able to connect with something bigger than yourselves because we're able to seclude ourselves from this life, this dunya that is so fast paced, that is so, asks so much of us. But this is the time where I'm like, you know what? I'm fasting. I'm doing my own schedule. Um, I have the right. It's almost like God says, you know what? This is the time to say, hey, I'm fasting. I have the right to say, I'm not attending this meeting. I'm fasting right now.
Mm.
Um, I'm going to take a few hours on my own. And it's like, as Muslims, we fast and then we go to prayer all night. Imagine being able, like, this is our green card to say, sorry, guys, love you, had a fun, nice 30 minutes, but I'm leaving. And it's for introverts, it's like magic. It's like, yay, I can leave and no one can say anything. But it's beautiful what it does to us. It's because we're go, go, go all year. This is the reset for for our heart, for
Mm.
our spiritual heart. So in Islam, we have a spiritual heart, not just the physical organ, but spiritually, our heart is able to work inwards, right?
Yeah.
So that's really what Ramadan is, and you're healing from physically your body, but also spiritually from everything around you. And it's that pause button to do the introspection work that we need to do and to connect to something bigger than ourselves and use the power of community to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right because with the way I tackle it as well is that I see Ramadan, it gives you or it invigorates discipline. It fast tracks you to understanding a new routine that you've been completely unaware of for the past 11 months. And being able to jump into Ramadan and even perform the smallest of tasks, just fasting, try as much as you can. A prayer there, a prayer here, an act of humility, an act of gratitude, small things. They really do change the way we look at things, and it takes us back to feeling centered. And that feeling of being centered, I don't know how you would describe it from a Islamic psychology point of view, but the idea is that we want people to feel grounded and centered again, that they have a sense of purpose. And how do you see that Ramadan does that as well?
So Islamically, we call it being in a state of awareness. So a state of ghafla. So it's, in Arabic, we call it ghafla. When you're in a state of
Mm.
ghafla, literally in Arabic, it means forgetfulness or
Mm.
unawareness, right? And Islamically, this means that you're away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're away from God, you're disconnected. Literally, ghafla is I'm fully disconnected.
Mm.
And what Ramadan allows is for you to come back and be connected um, with everything around you. It's being able to allow yourself to be fully aware and connected with your heart's connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even if that means leaning into your pain, leaning into what hurts you, and figuring out how do I sit with this, with the presence of something bigger than myself, with the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's like some people get it wrong. They think that therapy or healing is all about, oh, I have to heal. It's not the finish point. It's the
Mm.
process.
Yeah.
Ramadan makes you understand it's not about, oh, I'm going to check the list. That's it. I've guaranteed that I'm going to be in heaven because I did. No, Ramadan just allows you to lean into that process that you do it every single day of your life. You lean into that awareness. You lean into being connected with yourself first, with yourself and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and
Mm.
then with what you're feeling, and to step away from that state of ghafla to be in a state of complete awareness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And really it's our love to Him to understand that
Mm.
we are loved by default by our creator. Call it what you will, the source, the creator, whatever you want, right? But you are so loved. So how do you step into a state of awareness and realize that love and then slowly be able to love back and be even loved even more? SubhanAllah, we have an ayah in the Quran that says that, you know, if you love Allah, so follow the Prophet, and then Allah will love you. But in Arabic, it's not that He will love you equally. He will love you even more. Yuhibbukumullah.
Mm.
And you know, I was reading about why is it yuhibbukum? Why isn't it just equal love? It's because when you reflect on it, subhanAllah, it's because you are loved by default. It's like a parent, if my child goes astray, I still love him. I love her or him.
Mm.
But if when they come back, it's like I love them even more. And it's the same thing with us.
Mm.
Allah is, and then subhanAllah, some people say, I feel so disconnected from Allah, like He's so far away. Allah never moves, right? Allah is
It's constant.
constant. He's there. It's us. We move away, we come back. We move away, we come back. But that's okay. It's normal. SubhanAllah, He created us imperfect. And this is what we see in Ramadan. We see so many people doing fasting differently, right? And their relationship with their creator is different. Their healing process is different. And
Mm.
that's normal. We're not supposed to be on the same wavelength, right? And I think that's the beauty of realizing we're human. We're meant to be imperfect. We're meant to do this differently and find Him differently and find our healing differently. And it's just about leaning into that together. And I think that's what was also beautiful about Ramadan. You get to see this together and realize, oh, I'm not alone, subhanAllah.
You see, it's interesting because the more I think about it, is that fasting is sacrificial in one way or another. We're sacrificing not eating. We're being as patient as possible. So scientifically, I'm just thinking about how does that really, because you feel cleansed in a way, and through cleansing, then you have healing. So, is there any scripture about this that talks about it? Is it? Did you study it while you were, specializing in this form of psychology?
In terms of like fasting,
Yeah.
oh my
Okay.
God,
Mm.
like subhanAllah, we, as Muslims, if fasting wasn't anything that Islamically that doesn't benefit us, Allah wouldn't have asked it of us.
Mm.
Um, Whatever we do is for ourselves. A lot of people, and this is sometimes the struggle with the relationship with God, is a lot of people think, why am I doing this for God? Why did He ask this of us? Why can't I just live my life and He'll love me anyways? Because He created us in a way where He's asking you to do things that you need. He doesn't gain anything when we pray and when we
Mm.
fast. It's things that He created you in a way, you need this. You need this to
Yeah.
heal. And that's, I think, the awakening and the awareness when we heal that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the source, with your primary
Mm.
creator, subhanAllah.
Mm.
Um, but so I want to jump back to you. Why did you, and I love your curiosity about faith and why, because I know when we chatted, you said that one of your pillars is in the program that you created for clients is faith.
Correct.
Why did you find that so important to include, which I love?
So it's basically it's a pillar of the tools I use for healing. So the program is primarily targeted towards actually achieving new goals, healing from your traumas, and getting back to the objectives and goals that you want to set for yourself. And faith is here a key pillar of being able to get you back on track. So whether you are agnostic, an atheist, a believer, a non-believer, there is, as you said, a source.
Yeah. So how does that work? Because this is interesting. So if someone comes to you and says, I don't believe in God, what do you do in the
I
scenario?
so it's I asked them to go through a very rigid morning routine, which is called Protect Your Morning. All right, and it's breathing based, and then the faith based element comes in, which is could be manifesting, uh, having deep thoughts of what you want to achieve, and the feelings. You have to feel those feelings of what you want to achieve and how you want to get there on that specific day, very short term.
Hmm.
And specifically, if you pray, whether you're Christian, non-Christian, Muslim, non-Muslim, you go through your prayer and think of the things that you want to do while you're praying. Connect with that source. Go through the discipline of praying. Go through the discipline of manifesting. Try and connect with the feelings and ideas that you want to achieve. And I found that faith really does offer some clarity and a stepping stone towards achieving.
Purpose.
It's purpose and discipline. So it's a routine that you start with the first thing when you wake up, and it really gives you a purpose to move.
Yeah.
And healing is about movement. We're not meant to be sitting down all day, curled up in our self-doubt and pain. We're meant to get up and move. And
But
faith
I,
helps you get there.
I want to kind of challenge this a little bit because I've had these case scenarios.
Mhm.
But when you have someone who comes to you, clients, and this is on the rise, right? We have literally, it's on the rise, the number of people who have existential anxiety, right? It's, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know why I'm here in the world. And usually it's linked to the there's no existence of faith in their heart. They don't believe in anything that's bigger than themselves. And I always say, subhanAllah, because it's against our physiology, our fitra, it really causes a lot of anxiety. But what do you do as a therapist when you have clients who really genuinely feel like this? How do you work with that?
I expect, we discussed this briefly when we spoke the last time, but the key is that I make them understand that this is a goal that we need to achieve within a specific time period. It's not open-ended. You can't keep on talking about this. We actually need to achieve. And it's all about small steps. Start with anything. A small act of kindness that you could receive, that you acknowledge, or one that you give. Creating a routine for yourself. For first thing in the morning, like we discussed, from breathing to faith-based, etc. Movement. Small things. With quick wins, small wins, every single day, you get back on track. And we start building larger and better goals. But you need to, finding your center and finding yourself all over again is by finding that purpose. And that purpose is understanding that there is someone out there that does love you and care for you, whether it's your parents, your siblings, your friends. Connect to that and find that purpose from that relationship that you have.
And
Practice.
just for people who are curious, why does this work? Why does the small acts of purpose, of whatever, of kindness, why does this actually work? SubhanAllah, I think it's like a ripple effect. It's like once this, like you said, allowing clients, the way you help clients to focus on the daily, doesn't have to be this grand purpose.
Exactly.
Focusing on the daily almost creates a ripple effect in our hearts, and with other people of, oh, I don't get it, but I feel better,
Noor,
I don't know what's happening, but I feel better.
we all kind of forget that we were all kids and children at one point. And that innate feeling of need and wanting and kindness is inherent in all of us. Just, life has taken us on different journeys. But it is those small steps that make a difference. And they remind us, it resets us all over again. So just by starting small steps, whatever they are, and finding that, yes, it has made a difference some way, then we can move on to bigger things.
And I loved what you said about just it helps you notice how loved you are, right? And again, it's that impact of community. It's the impact, oh, I'm not on my own, even if it's just the stranger down the road, and we would honestly be shocked how much strangers notice our absence. If you're used to a daily walk, your neighbor doesn't see you.
Exactly.
They will notice, oh wait, Rami didn't come on his walk today. SubhanAllah. And I always tell clients, if I want to link this back to their primary source of love, and that's always your creator, all the love around you is a reflection of him, SubhanAllah. Because he will bring people who love you into your life to show you how loved you are. And I think you put it beautifully. It's the little acts that remind us of our purpose, our love, our community, and that's what faith is about.
Yeah. So I experienced with many clients that they've become so reserved, and they fear living.
Yeah.
And getting them just to get up, move 5 minutes out in the sun, bumping into that stranger that normally sees you, that will remind you that you are needed and there, and that you have a purpose.
Yeah. And I think the biggest struggle is, so I've had this as a therapist, is clients have to be willing to do the work, right? If you're not willing to lean in, to do the hard work, to feel what you need to feel, yeah, you'll do therapy for a few sessions and then you're going to say, I'm out. Because it's not easy leaning into that vulnerability. I want to say, it becomes easy with practice. I do want to say this. I think this
Mm.
is, I think we live in a society that's made it difficult because, like you said, we've become these robots of being adults. We don't lean into our children anymore. We don't lean into vulnerability and pain as kids do. SubhanAllah, with kids, if they want to cry, they're going to cry, right? If they're in pain, they're going to tell you, I'm in
Yeah.
pain. But society has made us so robotic with what we feel, with how we're supposed to act, that anything other than that becomes so difficult.
Yeah.
But when you get yourself practicing, and really that's what therapy is about, it's practicing. You practice to lean in and you remove the fear factor. And once you feel safe, right? So therapy, like you said, one of the things you do with clients is you allow them to feel safe. And I think that's the beauty of therapy, but also knowing that you're safe around people that you love, that you can be vulnerable with them, that you can lean into that difficult space of feeling what you need to feel and doing the work. But yeah, I just really wanted to touch on that is that, some people say, I can't feel anything or this isn't going anywhere. Sometimes you're just not ready. Honestly, like I've clients many times, you have to be ready to do the work.
This takes me to a question I wanted to ask you, which is about understanding the journey of one's faith.
Hmm.
Because once you understand the journey you're on, it will kind of make understanding your purpose in life easier.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get your take on how does one understand their own journey, and how does that make them centered from the perspective of well-being?
So I think understanding your journey, what comes to my mind is to allow yourself to be merciful with yourself, right?
Mm.
We are so judgmental on ourselves. Like, we are so quick to say, I'm not a good Muslim. I'm not a good person. I'm so disconnected. You know, mercy's never gonna be given to me. And we are so quick to do that. And subhanAllah, Islamically, that's actually the worst thing you can do. That's the one thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates the most is when you rip yourself of being merciful with yourself and you no longer see his mercy. Like if we just fathom that and fathom how much we do that to ourselves. Like you do one bad thing, that's it. I'm a bad person. We're so judgmental. It's crazy. Um, but I think it's leaning into being merciful with ourselves. Just be kind to yourself, be gentle, and understand that you weren't meant to come into this dunya and get it all right. We're not meant to get it right, right? We're meant to get it wrong so that we understand our relationship in with this life, but also with our creator.
Mm.
That's the whole point. Like I try and tell people this is the whole point of being here. It's not about the check boxes and getting it right. It's literally about making the mistakes, falling,
Mm.
feeling our traumas, understanding that emotion and how it brings us closer to ourselves, to other people, and our primary source, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's literally what it's about. And to just be gentle and merciful with your story. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but I love romanticizing my relationship with Allah
Mm.
subhanahu wa ta'ala. I love it. Like, if we don't do it with our relationship with our creator, why would we do it with anyone else?
Mm.
Romanticize it. And this is your story. It's your story on this earth. It's your story of how you want to write out your own journey. And no matter how it started, no matter how many pitfalls, how many times you get back up, but that's what makes it amazing. And subhanAllah, Islamically, we know in Allah yuhibbu al-tawwab. And it's if we think of what a tawab means, it's the person who keeps seeking forgiveness, which means by default, if you keep seeking forgiveness, you keep making the mistakes, you keep falling into those traps. But imagine Allah loves those who come back to Him, and it makes you realize, oh wait, it's part of the process. And yeah, I think honestly, Dami, no matter what our story is, no matter what our story is in terms of healing, in terms of how we come back to ourselves, it's just about how can I be merciful and gentle with myself on this journey.
You mentioned something about therapy only works when people are willing to put in the work.
Hmm.
And when I'm fasting, I look at the ability to self-reflect and be honest and achieve some sort of inner calm. And that's work you're putting your own therapy into work somehow. So fasting in many ways, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a catalyst. It's forcing you to reflect. It's forcing you to be calmer, be honest with yourself. And I think going back to faith-based tools, they're all meant to do that. They're meant to really cleanse you, detox you, and allow you to self-reflect. So again, this fasting is an act where you have to put in the work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get there if you don't
Exactly. So
refrain from food and water. If you
exactly.
don't control what's in your surroundings, you won't get there. And I love that metaphor. Thank you, Rami. Yeah, it's proof of you'll get, you know, you'll do the beautiful magical healing work, but only if you do the work. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And we go through this, and I think we all are looking for some sort of inner peace. You know, with myself and my practice, I engage professionals as well who are running huge businesses, dealing with big clients, and they hit a slump. They're not achieving what they used to achieve. Some things happened. There's just too much clutter up there emotionally. They're all over the place, and it's just funny when you just sit down and say, okay, there is a plan, and
Yeah.
this plan will end in 4 weeks. And it's very easy, but you need to take the small steps. And it's just doing that again, or doing that all over again. It's doing the work of self-reflecting, being honest, and being true.
You reminded me of, so because like you, subhanAllah, I used to work in corporate. And I remember I'll never forget, we had a vulnerability session I remember I had, I think, 8 coworkers in the meeting room. Age ranges were like 30, oh my goodness, up to 60 years old.
Mm.
To put it lightly, I was terrified. I was like, what am I doing? Right? Especially as a female in this space with all these men in the room. And it's a vulnerability session, right? But subhanAllah, Rami, I remember just a few minutes in, for them, for these men who, are burdened with so much at work, whether it's also their personal life, to have this just a few minutes of, let's talk about shame.
Mm.
Let's talk about vulnerability. And I remember I had men come out of the room, they said, I haven't spoken about this with my own wife. And we've just shared this in an entire meeting room. And I remember it gave me goosebumps at that time, but it is crazy what happens when we give individuals just the spaces to feel safe enough to
Mm.
tap into that sense of, I'm not okay. How do I reach that sense of inner peace? Yeah, like just for them to realize, whoa, you've just touched on something.
Mm.
I'm not I'm not okay, and especially in the corporate world where we don't, especially men, they don't get those 2 seconds of, hey, sit with that feeling. It's all
Mm.
oh. Um, and it's crazy what happens when safety taps in, when they're allowed to feel vulnerable, when we start
Mm.
talking about shame, and where shame is a huge factor when it comes to the male population. And I love that we're moving into this because this was one of my questions for you. As a male practitioner in this space,
Mm.
how has it been working with other male clients, especially when we see depression is on the rise, suicide is on the rise, especially with men? And the difference is, I think, with the male population is that, statistics show us there's no, they never reach out for help midway. It's always, when you have a male client coming to you, it's always when it's like, I'm at the deep end.
Yeah.
How have you seen that come up in your work?
But I mean, part of why I labeled the program mental performance enhancement was to be able to attract people, because in the region, therapy is still looked at as a way that people don't know how to process the word therapy anyway. So it was a way to attract people and bring people in. You're not performing, come let me help you perform.
Mm.
Mm. And still with that, it takes them the first couple of hours for them to kind of lean into their own comfort zone, where I keep on trying, or we keep on trying to help people by saying you're safe, you're stable, you're secure, you're comfortable. Mm. And look, both men and women are living in a highly competitive environment more than any time in history. And it's a fast-paced world with a lot, as I said earlier, in this region, a lot of trauma and pain. You watch millions of people being displaced, you see carnage, you see economic strife across the board. It's meant to affect you. If it doesn't affect you, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
We're on our screens and we're scrolling, and all you see is devastation, devastation, devastation. How do you take a step back? So I think men in general are easy to tap into, and men will open up once you've given them that space, and where they understand that they can get something out of this. Men in general, I think people don't want something that's open-ended. They want to see that they can get something out of it. They want closure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what we are guilty of as in the region is we're not taught to process pain. We're not taught to process trauma. We either deal with it by saying, okay, it's done, goodbye, halas, we close that chapter and we move on. And then decades later, it comes back to haunt us. So for men now that are dealing with, young professionals or older men who are trying to make it in the workplace, have a lot of responsibilities, they need to process their failures so that they can come back and achieve. I think there's still so much more to be done. There's so much more to educate in terms of ourselves and the people around us to attract people to come and open up.
It's a learning process, right?
It is.
And I love what you said about the goal being inner peace. And I want to tie this to, so as a Muslim practitioner, my focus is, and Islamically, it's qalbun salim. And it's crazy how those two are so close. But so Islamically, we focus on the heart, the spiritual heart, right? That the heart is at a state of peace. And qalbun salim, the root word of salim is healthy, at peace, and in a state that, so subhanAllah, the root word is also in a state of submission. That for me is my goal for everyone, for myself included, is how do we stay on this path that my heart is in a state of peace? And that, I think that's what this work is about. Whether you're fasting, whether it's Ramadan, whether you're, and we're all, and I always say we're all on this journey of understanding and connecting to our heart and connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the creator. It's all a journey. It just looks different. And that's the goal, is how do I reach the state where my heart is at peace? And like you said, for you, it's inner peace.
It's inner peace, and it's also, I think, finding that purpose and passion of life. And so most people that you do interact with are coming because they've lost that compass. That passion is gone. The purpose is nowhere to be found.
They're on a survival state, right?
Yeah, exactly. And how do we say, hey, it's time to take a step back, and to achieve inner peace is to forget and let go of all the negative connotations that have happened or caused you to come to where you are today.
Yeah.
So yes, and we, with al-qalb al-salim, we say al-aql al-salim bil-jism al-salim.
Exactly.
We promote also your well-being of being healthy and moving and being strong.
Yeah.
Because when you move, it does.
I tell clients, if your therapist doesn't ask what you ate, how much you sleep, do you move, then that's not a holistic approach, right? I've always said this to friends and family, is look at that entire capsule. Because this vessel, like you said, it's all linked, my mind, my body. And again, that's what Ramadan is teaching us.
I mean, and the beauty of, being a practitioner at Body Tree is offering a holistic offering. So I can say, Yes, and now you can go do this class, and now you can go eat from that food, and you should be talking to that person. And this is holistic well-being. Your movement, take care of your body, take care of your soul, take care of your mind, and that's how you will eventually have inner peace.
My God, I used to love it when my clients would come in and be like, "Oh, I was just at this class. Oh, I was just downstairs."
Mm.
And I'm like, this is the point. It's like a big hug. Even for us as therapists, it's beautiful to be like, "Oh, I have this entire family and team behind me, not
Yeah.
just behind me, but behind my clients."
Mhm.
It's beautiful. It's like a big hug to the heart, honestly.
Yeah.
Body tree.
And keeping it in the spirit of Ramadan. You know, yes, we talk about fasting as a discipline, and we talk it as it cleanses and detoxes. But I think there's also so much more in terms of we grew up looking at Ramadan saying it's a chance for you to look at people that are less fortunate than you are. Mm. People who don't have what you have. That you can extend a hand of aid and hope and love to those around you. So Ramadan and the practice of fasting is meant for you to be there and to show up, for you to be really humble, because it should, the act of humility is essential for you to find peace and calm.
It's about what it does to our heart. Oh, yeah, and subhanAllah, yes, we're asked to give, but it's about what is it doing to you, to your right?
Yes.
Doing that introspection work
It
again.
gives you much more than what you give.
So much.
And I think if anything, I might tell people I've seen now in Ramadan, is that how much are you giving? It's not how much are you eating when it's time to eat. It's how much are you giving throughout the day. Give out positivity, give out good advice.
I'll tell you about, right? It's just literally even a smile, just your ability to do a ripple effect, right? How much have you given just by being there with your family, with your friends, subhanAllah.
And be gracious and practice gratitude, be thankful for everything. This is the time to really think about what you're thankful for.
And it's about how do we take all of this, so the magic of Ramadan, and then how do we apply that to our daily, everyday after Ramadan, right? Like you said, it's Ramadan helps us bring it all together, create that routine, but then what are we going to take out of Ramadan and then apply every single day? And what I would say to non-Muslims, and I know this was one of the things we wanted to talk about, is what about those who don't practice Ramadan, are non-Muslim members of the community? I would say, the question that we were given was, how should non-members of the Muslim community support their Muslim friends or family? I'm going to challenge that. It's not about supporting your Muslim community. Rather, it's about how can you allow yourself to be infected by the magic of Ramadan? How can you allow yourself to lean in and be a part of that community? And I guarantee it's going to be, hands wide open. But it's what part of Ramadan can you allow yourself to be a part of and allow it to infect you in your heart? What do you call it? What's attracting you to Ramadan and what do you want to be a part of? Whether I know so many non-Muslim friends who have fasted and they've loved it. They're like, oh my God, I'm rejuvenated. A lot of people have actually attended Taraweeh at the mosque. They just want at the mosque and be infected with the magic of prayer. So my invitation to you is, what part of Ramadan will you allow to infect you and infect your heart, and allow yourself to lean in and be a part of that? And it's hard, like that, Rami, like it's hard work. It's not Ramadan is maybe the hardest part of being a Muslim because it's a physical. But I guess the question is, are you willing to lean in, do that work, and be a part of?
We're a bit spoiled as well because honestly, Ramadan also does give you the sense of community, and people do accept you. So if you wanted to lean in, there are so many ways you could. You could volunteer, you go out and help people, Mu'aid al-Rahman, serve people food. You can, you will always be invited into someone's home.
Always.
So I mean,
it's always extra food.
Leaning in is the easy part. It's acknowledging it and understanding it and processing it is what really, yes, definitely we should invite everyone to look into and be a part of. And for us to also understand the beauty of fasting and whether it's Islamic fasting or Lent, which has also started, so that people really know that we are sacrificing. People are sacrificing for something better. Mhm. That's our message, I guess, at the end of the day. But,
Yeah, lean in
yeah.
and into that love story with yourself, with the source, with your creator, with one another, with community.
Mhm.
And Ramadan Kareem, everyone.
Ramadan Kareem. So,
Okay.
Noor, as we wrap this up, I wanted to ask, can fasting fix lives?
I think if you let it, if you're willing to do the work, if you let it, if you're willing um to lean into that beautiful source of love that's in your life from your creator, I think it can.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a start. It's the first step towards in the right direction. In the right direction. It's definitely a start.
I love that. Thank you, Rami.
Thank you.